Welcome to our session. Today we'll be discussing the important role that IROs play in affordable housing. I'm joined by two very well-respected industry leaders, Demetrio Jimenez and Steve Leitner, who will share more about their origin story, how they changed hearts and minds about capital A affordable housing, and built loyal customer service or customer bases and thriving businesses in their communities. Demetria, would you kick us off? For our fellow Texans tuning in, your introduction to the industry was through TDHCA, that's the state's Housing and Community Development Agency. Would love to hear more about your work to help low-income families in El Paso.
Well, first, Nicole, thank you for having me, and it's an honor to be here with Steve. Yeah, that's right. My journey started with the Texas Department of Housing and Community. I worked with families living in unincorporated areas outside of El Paso, many without paved streets, water, or sewer. And that experience shaped everything for me. I learned that affordable housing isn't about units and spreadsheets. It's really about dignity, opportunity, and long-term stability. When I later helped build Tropicana Properties, we designed it as a vertically integrated company that develops, builds, and manages all our communities in-house. Today, we manage over 3,900 LHTC units. We've helped more than 300 families transition from renters to homeowners through credit counseling and partnerships with lenders like Patriot Mortgage. That's where my heart for IROs comes from. Many of them are doing the same work we do, just at a smaller scale, quietly providing affordable homes without subsidies or recognition.
Well, thank you, Demetrio. Couldn't have been more well said. A people-centered business is certainly something that we all aspire to. Steve, you also built your business from scratch. Would love to hear more about what we'll call divine timing helped you grow your Missouri-based business. Could you tell us more?
I appreciate that. Thank you, Nicole. I've worked at a lot of jobs since graduating from college. I was a phlebotomist, drawing people's blood at the hospital. I worked for the state of Missouri inspecting sewage treatment plants, and I later ran an industrial waste laboratory in St. Joseph, Missouri. But that was not my eventual calling. In 1976, I became an independent insurance agent in Fulton, Missouri. Since my income was based only on commissions, I kind of needed a way to supplement my income. I think you hear a lot of people say that. I started managing rental apartments. My dad had two duplexes. I took on two newly built 12plexes and another two duplexes. And then I also had a single family rental unit of my own that I owned. And at the time, the Callaway nuclear power plant was under construction and demand was strong. And it was easy to stay fully occupied. As you mentioned, it was a good time for me to start in the rental business. The extra income allowed me to build equity and personal assets. A few years later, a business associate of Dad and I worked with wanted out of his ownership in Jefferson West Apartments, the apartments we have right now. And instead of selling his interest in Jefferson West Apartments outright, we arranged a 1031 exchange. We bought river bottom farmland that he wanted and exchanged it for the Jefferson West Apartments. It was a good idea and a good deal for both parties. He avoided paying capital gains, and we got a lower purchase price. I was in partnership with my father, and he had the financial connections to help us negotiate good terms with our lenders. Since then, we have continued to build additional housing as we build up equity, using the equity instead of cash to build more apartments. And every 4 years, we've been able to build more units on our existing land. In 1997, we joined with other property owners to develop two LIHTC properties. They are now 25 years old. And we have an application submitted at this time to do a rehab on these projects. We currently also have submitted an application to build another LIHTC property in Jefferson City. We desperately need more housing in our community, and there's little housing available. Of my 7 full-time employees, only 1 is able to live in Jeff City. The rest have to commute into our city. Timing has helped us grow our business and our businesses in Missouri.
Well, Steve, I really enjoyed learning more about how you expanded your family business and built it into a thriving portfolio. Both of you are sort of at the pinnacles of your careers. And just for our listeners or our viewers, rather, who are tuning in with us, was just curious, with rising costs, many IROs still keep rents more affordable than big companies. Steve, certainly, as you said. Steve, how do you manage your property in a way that supports affordability while keeping your business sustainable?
Nicole, along with managing apartments, I worked as a risk manager for an insurance company. I have my CPCU, which is Chartered Property Underwriter designation, and I look for and identify risk. I look for ways to control expenses. Often I would find incorrect billings or double billings. And when you control expenses, you're not under the pressure to always have to raise rents. You know what they can afford. In the past, our annual rent increases have ranged from $4 a month to $12 a month, very reasonable. And the cost of living in our community is much lower than the national average. Our current LIHTC rents are $477 a month for a two-bedroom and $530 a month for a three-bedroom. And our market rate apartments rent about $150 more per month. We use the same rental criteria for both our market rates and our LIHTC properties. There are benefits with economies of scale when we do both together. As far as maintaining profitability, it can be a struggle. Government regulations and insurance rate increases have limited or eliminated our ability to make distributions of surplus cash to our partners in our LIHTC properties. IROs in our area tend to make only moderate increases, as I've said, in rent at lease renewal. Recently, it's changed with major increases in insurance costs. Unfortunately, this has led a lot of mom and pops in our community to exit the business. As mom and pops exit the business, there's an opportunity for young investors to enter the market. We try to keep costs under control as we look for every expense to justify its cost. We don't offer as many services and amenities as Demetrio is able to provide to his tenants.
Well, thank you, Steve. It's great to learn more about how you keep your units affordable. Demetrio, are there other strategies that your company employs? Would you like to sort of weigh in here?
Well, I agree with Steve. It's pretty hard for IROs to really get into that profitability. But those that do succeed, they operate differently than large property management companies because they're more hands-on. They do their own maintenance, they shop for deals, they manage expenses like they're paying bills at home because they really are. And that efficiency helps keep rents about 15 to 25% lower than big box competitors while still maintaining profitability. At Tropicana, we apply the same mindset at scale, though. We do a preventative maintenance, of course, bulk purchasing, and training for our in-house teams to reduce third-party costs. And those savings don't go to shareholders. They go back to keeping their rents affordable. And that's a real lesson for IROs. Affordability doesn't mean losing money. It means operating smarter.
Well, that's certainly something we should all take away from this session is operating smarter.
Mhm.
Just to transition to the next topic here, because IROs often live near their tenants or manage directly, you have much stronger personal ties. This is a perfect segue into your comments, Demetrio. And the previous question, how has that closeness really helped you keep tenants stable and loyal compared to large property companies?
Cole, I think that closeness is everything. Most IROs know their residents personally. They see them at the grocery store, they see them at church, and that kind of relationship builds trust, and trust builds stability. We built the same philosophy into Tropicana's culture. We offer on-site resident service like credit counseling, financial literacy, and first-time home buyer education. We host neighborhood events and encourage property managers to truly know the residents. And the end result is turnover rates are far below the industry average. When residents feel seen and supported, they stay longer. And long-term residents mean stable, thriving communities.
Well, thank you, Demetrio. Steve, you summed up the concept behind your communities as city convenience in a country setting. Is this the approach that best resonated with your renter populations? Tell us more about that.
Yes, we've used the phrase city convenience in a country setting to promote our market rate properties. Uh, we have lots of trees, lots of open spaces. We started with 34 plexes located on 13 acres of land. The city has kind of grown up around us. We have shopping, we have restaurants and convenience stores within walking distance. We have a Lowe's, Home Goods, Chick-fil-A, Longhorns, Chili's, AT&T, and a lot of those people that work at those places actually rent from us. And we have a lot of state employees that are within walking distance. In fact, uh, our tenants like the quiet setting, and some of our tenants can actually walk to work. And since we have so many state employees around the area, many of the state employees walk on our sidewalks on their morning and their afternoon breaks. So um, that makes it very much a community for us to be
Mhm.
have the people that are around us and work with us and see us every day.
Well, it's nice to hear more about how you both built your businesses around the communities that you serve. I can't believe we're almost out of time. I've learned so much in this conversation about both of you. It's been a privilege to share the virtual stage with you, and I hope you'll all join me in a silent round of applause for our speakers. Gentlemen, any parting words for new investors or owners that are tuning in today? Demetrio, any closing thoughts?
Nicole, I'll say this, and I love Steve's country setting because that leads to IROs. IROs are the backbone of affordable housing, I believe, in America. Even, even if they don't see themselves that way, nearly half of all US rentals, 46%, are in the 1 to 4 unit properties, mostly owned by individual landlords. Now, these owners don't have massive budgets or management teams, but they do have heart, hustle, and a desire to serve their communities. And now, with the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, IROs can finally have tools that once were out of reach: expanded tax credits, bonus depreciation, simplified compliance, and down payment assistance program in some cases that can help renters transition into homeowners. If small landlords can tap into those tools, they can offer something big companies can't. It's just not a lease, but a pathway to home ownership. That's how we turn renters into neighbors and neighborhoods into communities. Thank you, Nicole and Steve, for having me.
What advice would you give when you first started out in the industry? Would love to hear more about
Yeah.
that.
I've talked with many young entrepreneurs who started out flipping houses and now they're getting into the rental business. This is a way to build equity and generate generational wealth. Once rental income covers your interest and your principal and your taxes and your maintenance, the remaining cash flow provides you a consistent monthly income. The asset value of rental property is based on NOI, net operating income. And as the rental rates increase, so does the value of your property. You can also benefit from the ability, as Demetrio said, to deduct the depreciation on your rental property to offset income from other sources. This can be more than offset inflation. The use of tax credits to provide equity in a LIHTC project allows for lower principal and interest payments. As a developer of a LIHTC property, you could receive a developer fee that can be as high as 8%. And 8% of a $10 million project is $800,000. This can build generational wealth for those people wanting to get into the business. Savings on a CD or money market account is basically a zero-sum game. Interest income is considered ordinary income and is taxed at your highest marginal tax rate. Federal and state taxes further reduce the yield on your savings to less than the rate of inflation. For the young entrepreneur, rental properties can create an income stream and a store of wealth. For the young person getting into the business, education and networking is key. You need to get involved. There are certain liabilities inherent with real estate and property management that you must become familiar with. Be active in the apartment association and take some education courses, network with other owners and learn something. I learn something every day and every time I talk with other owners. We share stories, we share our losses, and we share our successes, but you don't want to try to do it alone. I started out as an independent insurance agent and became an independent rental owner, but being independent does not mean doing it alone.
Well, thank you, Steve. That was very well said. Steve, Demetrio, it's been truly a pleasure to share the virtual stage with you today. Thank you again all for your time, for listening in. We look forward to answering your questions. Take care.